Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Rogue Trader with me, Dawn. Let's speak with Governor Medineh. The tall, dark-skinned man turns toward you and greets you in a curt military manner. Pasqal Rakadi Medineh af Coronis, Governor of the Star System. Welcome to my temporary headquarters. The man's gaze falls on Abelard, his eyes slightly narrow. Versarian. Abelard nods dryly. Governor Medineh, my greetings. The governor's expression changes drastically when he sees Cassia. Lady Navigator, what an honor. I never thought that House Orcellia would grace our world with a visit. I only wish I could have received you under different circumstances. Cassia purses her lips, and an echo of grief knocks the wind out of those present. House Orcellia is grateful for the support that you provided to Yurok 5 these many years. I am not seeing the convoy I'd sent to meet you. What happened? Did they fail to find and escort you? If that is so, I promise you their punishment will be swift and severe. What a curious exchange of pleasantries. Is there some kind of discord between you and Abelard? No, of course not. An old misunderstanding, over a century old by now. It isn't worth your time, Lord Captain. The convoy was ambushed and massacred. The only surviving soldier turned out to be a traitor, and was personally executed by me. That is an outrage. I'll have the personnel vetting procedure changed immediately. The slightest suspicion will be grounds for arrest. Your Lordship, before we proceed with discussing the matters that are of interest to you, there's a question I feel compelled to ask. It was only recently that Lady Theodora was the head of House von Valancius. I've received no word of her demise. How is it that you are now the rogue traitor? Also, I wonder if this will come up later. But we'll see. Our ship was attacked, Theodora was killed, and I claim my inheritance. That is all you need to know. The governor frowns and a deep shadow falls over his face. Rogue traitor von Valancius, slain. Unthinkable. Please accept my deepest and most sincere condolences, your lordship. Do not hesitate to let me know how I might be of help. I need fresh crew to replace those killed in the attack on the ship, and I need material compensation. The governor bows his head in acceptance. Of course, your lordship. You'll be compensated for any losses. And I'll see to it personally that your ship's holds are filled with the finest goods from my personal reserves. Cool, our profit factor went up by 2. Abelard nods in approval and remarks quietly, Excellent, your lordship. A rogue trader has no use for leniency. I can offer you several thousand fine obedient servants. However, I'm sad to inform you that I won't be able to do it until we've dealt with the insurgency on the planet. I'm sure you won't have to wait long. The rabble will soon be duly punished for their heretical scheming. I wish to commend the courage of one of your officers, Sergeant Malgar. He and his soldiers valiantly defend the starport. The sergeant who managed to impress a person of such noble standing will be recommended for decoration. Are you so confident they would crush the insurrection soon? My own impression has been the exact opposite. Is that so? The governor maintains his composure. I'd like to hear your reasoning. The insurgency is headed by a certain Aurora, a prophet who, according to their followers, possesses mystical powers. The rabble's usual superstitions. I'm sure this Aurora is a charlatan muttering some doggerel, which their dim followers think to be magic spells. This does of course warrant their eventual burning in the furnace of penance. But it does not point to there being anything special about this insurgency. Scores of crazed people with scorched eyes are stalking the city. The insurgents are maiming their own. Good. The insurgents talk of a final dawn, the impending demise of the world. Yet another superstition. Surely you don't expect me to believe in it. The insurgents managed to steal a Voxcaster. They've been listening to your people's communications. It's not much, but it is something. I will order an audit of our equipment and see to it that our communication channels are more closely monitored going forward. However, it was only the accidental success of an otherwise disorganized mob of heretics who have no understanding of the art of war. The insurgents are using the archenemy's artifacts, enchanted lenses, to perform unholy sorcery. I've heard about these lenses. What makes you think they're enchanted? Any fool can light a fire with a magnifying glass. That's no sorcery. This is why so many planets fall to chaos, because the elite, or higher-ups, are so disconnected from everything that's happening. You ought to leave your bunker more often, Governor Medineh. I have only recently arrived in this system, and I already know much more about the uprising than you do. The governor's eyes darken, but your unwavering gaze makes him give in. All right. Perhaps I've underestimated the mutiny, writing it off as the rabble's usual nonsense. However, if it does involve corruption and an underground cult, this needs to be investigated. I'll assign additional resources to it and take the issue seriously. You have my word, your lordship. My kinsman Conrad Voigtveer von Valancius has betrayed our dynasty and the Imperium. If he is hiding in this system, I want him handed over to me. Voigtveer is a traitor. Why, any family, however noble, has an unworthy scion or two. Naturally, we will surrender him should we find him within my jurisdiction. Unfortunately, I have no information regarding his location. However, the governor pauses to think. We have a cogitator here at the command center. It's connected to a data crypt from Logis Abel Sanctum. It aggregated all the Lex Mechanic reports. Unfortunately, the access prayer for it is unknown to me. If you manage to convince the stubborn machine, you might learn something about Conrad's movements. I'd hazard he fled from you on a ship, not on a pair of wings. Heinrich van Calix, an interrogator of the Most Holy Inquisition, is operating in your system. Do you know where he is? The governor lowers his voice. I do. Master van Calix has left for the hallowed electrodynamic cenobium. It's an ancient monastery of the Adeptus Mechanicus. I don't know what his objectives are. Needless to say, insurgent activity has been observed in the monastery's vicinity. But I suppose that's too petty of a problem for an agent of the Most Holy Inquisition. Besides, I've already sent a small detachment of reinforcements there. The weapon the insurgents were using to shoot down shuttles over this city has been destroyed. Now nothing is preventing you from returning to your ship. If you wish to find Master van Calix, you should go to the cenobium of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Notes of anxiety creep into the voice that rattles from Pascal's Vox. On behalf of the priesthood of Mars, I, Magos Hanuman, am officially initiating my participation in the operation. I must inspect the state of the relic, and assure myself that it is under zero risk of falling into heretic hands. According to the Catechism of Maintenance and Operations, my tech comrades were supposed to lock the monastery gates against laypeople and activate the traps. I deem it optimal that an ordained Magos should provide his assistance. I categorically object. The governor clenches his fist. As much as I respect the sanctity of your monastery, I have on my hands a whole capital that needs to be attended by the Omnissiah servants. We have lost many eminent tech priests. Incidentally, one of them perished in that same monastery. Mechanical failures could occur at any moment. Putting it bluntly, you may consider yourself forcibly recruited to the city's defense forces. Medineh and Pasqal glare at each other, their unyielding gazes like crossed swords. You have picked an interesting time to quarrel with the servant of the Omnissiah, Governor. A critical situation calls for decisive action. I simply cannot let every learned tech priest go to their death the moment they hear about an endangered relic. I need people who can do more than praise the Omnissiah to look after the capital and its millions of citizens. This Magos is a part of my retinue. You have no right to give him orders. You mistake me for a fool. I know that he arrived separately from you, and I would bet my life that no... The governor's voice dies down in the low growl of a drilling mechadendrite. Its tip is directed straight at the bridge of his nose. Medineh clears his throat and grumbles stubbornly. So this is the negotiation technique you've resorted to. Do you think this is the first time I've been threatened with a weapon? No, but this could be your last. Pasqal's voice is akin to the sound produced by his drilling implement, steady and calm, but ready to explode at a moment's notice with the crunching of bone and the squelching of tearing flesh. I'm heading to the monastery because I must. Is that clear? The governor mutters through gritted teeth. Abundantly so, Magos. Why are you so determined to get to the monastery? Is it just because of the relic? That's why I came to this world. I'm expected there. It would be my pleasure to assist the Omnissiah's servant in reaching the sanctum. Thank you for your cooperation, your lordship. The drill stops. As compensation for your consideration of my request, I, Magos Hanuman, officially undertake to accompany you in the Rycat system in the role of a bodyguard, and to protect you at all costs until your life functions cease, but only within the limits of the Rycat system. You're Hanuman. Glad you're alive. The governor raises his eyebrow and stares at the tech priest in surprise, but refrains from further commentary. I wish to know more about the monastery. The Cenobium has been run by the Adeptus Mechanicus ever since the colony was founded. The sacred reactor guarded by its priests powers the entire planet. I can say no more. It is a forbidden place that even I have only been allowed to visit once before. We know the answer to question 2, because it powers the entire planet, plus it's sacred to the Adeptus Mechanicus. But we'll ask it anyway. Now why not shell the monastery if that's where the insurgents have gathered, or deploy a landing force? Fulfilling this request puts the monastery in danger of major destruction. The consequences of this decision for the world of Rykad Minoris could be catastrophic. Pasqal, what is so special about the Cenobium and the relic? What is in there that has drawn the attention of an interrogator of the Inquisition? I have never been there before, but I would presume that the sacred relic of the reactor is capable of great destruction should it end up in heretic hands. The fury of the freed machine spirits, once released from the sacred circuit, will destroy everything around them. The degree of damage inflicted may render the world of Rykad Minoris uninhabitable. Heresy must be purged from those blessed halls. I declare any desecrator who defiles the relic's power a Category 3 blasphemer, deserving of immediate execution. But what has perplexed you about my companion's name? The governor looks at Pasqal with curiosity. According to the reports we've received, Logis Abel Hanuman set off with the hollowed electrodynamic Cenobium a short while before it was stormed. I'm glad to find out that you're safe. Perhaps you possess information on Master Van Calix. Pasqal's vox rasps in confusion. My name is Pasqal Hanuman, not Abel. I know nothing about such a person. What do you know about this Abel, Governor? I have never met him in person. That esteemed Logis supervised the work of Rykad Minoris' Lex Mechanics for many years. However, he rarely left his cyber chapel, and I never had the honor of making his acquaintance. A true anchorite. Well, why did he fly to the monastery? That seems suspicious. When a Logis of the Adeptus Mechanicus wants to go somewhere, we don't ask why, your lordship. Where can I get more information on this individual? I would have suggested that you inspect the esteemed Logis' sanctum, but it was destroyed by the rebels. We recovered several data crypts and connected them to the cogitators at the command post. They might provide you with some information. It is amazing that a mechanical voice from a Vox can sound so confused. That name might have been used as a signal intelligible only to its intended recipient. In that case, its bearer might be Archmagos Amarnat, initiating an investigation, a data collection procedure. Adira tenses up and listens, then turns around sharply to face Pasqal. I can hear my friend's snide whispers through the door. Be careful in your search, Magos. If you stare into a shattered mirror for too long, you might see yourself in it, and every shard at once. Mending it is that much more of a tainted affair then. But the new reflection is deathlike. I see. Glad to be of service, your lordship. Tech Priest Quartz Crane claims you've not been doing enough to ensure the safety of the Adeptus Mechanicus monastery. With a heavy sigh, the governor rarely covers his face with his hand. Of course he does. That Tech Priest is very insistent. I ordered a squad to be dispatched to the Holy Cenobium of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They haven't been heard from yet. I'm afraid this is all I can do under the present circumstances. I don't have a single soldier to spare here in the capital. That is all I wanted to discuss. I read that already. Yes, our profit factor went up by 2. We can get this Mazoa pattern bolt pistol now.
Data meditation is terminated.
Do you know anything about the Tech Priest Abel Hanuman? Unit Quartz Crane has had no previous communications with Unit Abel Hanuman. The memory sector contains other data related to this query. The various resources and data storage devices of interest have been extracted by the standing army of Rykad Norse for preservation purposes. The command center currently hosts a cogitator that was used by Unit Abel Hanuman. Appeal to the cogitator's spirits for further information. Well, I'll do just that. Okay, we've read all that already. I go to Logis' private archive, result of Logis Abel's data trance. I cannot see the secret design, but I can sense it, shackled in stasis. The minds of the initiated are slumbering in the neural harness of their vows. I am registering an impulse of change. I surmise a potential influence on the stasis of the secret design. There came a time when the spiral was turned into a circle, but the cycle can be discontinued. The revelation granted by the Omnissiah to Logis Abel in the course of his data meditation has been recorded verbatim. Logis Abel is seeking an audience with the venerable Dar Impulse 6, who may assist in interpreting the revelation. A request has been sent to the governor's palace for a shuttle flight to the electrodynamic cenobium. A message has also been sent to the Furibundus system. The cycle can be discontinued. I recognize the words. The voice from the Vox is soft and pensive, barely audible over the static noise. I believe I know the intended recipient of the message in the Furibundus system. It was me. Omnissiah, grant me the wisdom to fathom this mystery.
Okay,
I think we're done for now. A shortcut back to the ship. Okay, our profit factor went up, and I just traded more stuff with them, so... Actually, I don't think our rank went up, did it? I hadn't looked before I did it. Either way, we now have access to all of this. So the Stalker Gloves. If the wearer's range attack hits an enemy, the wearer gains a plus 5% bonus to critical hit chance for the next range attack against the same enemy. Does not stack. A two-handed axe. Reaper Cape grants plus 12% dodge reduction to the wearer's melee area attacks. And 4 blinding grenades. Let's go speak to our new companion.
The Omnissiah knows all, comprehends all.
Pasqal, shrouded in his crimson robe, greets you with a soft voice synthesized by the Vox system. The mechadendrites growing out of the tech priest's back swivel in your direction, as if examining you with curiosity. Ask some questions about your visit to Rykad Minoris.
The request is approved. I am ready to provide the necessary information.
What brought you to Rykad Minoris?
I came heeding the call of my mentor, the blessed Archmagus Amonat. We were supposed to meet on Owlcat Minoris and discuss my mission.
A lot of emphasis on that last A in his name. That Armanat. The people who wanted to kill you at the port weren't renegades. It was just a cover.
Thank you. Information acknowledged. I will analyze it and take additional security measures.
What do you think of this Abel Hanuman?
I propose that it was the blessed Amonat who assumed this name. This name is assigned to me. His presence in the hands of heretics is categorically unacceptable. The canon of technological security commands that every effort be made to rescue a high-ranking bearer of knowledge.
That will be all for now.
Acknowledged.
I want to know more about your past.
The request is approved. I have no outright restrictions on disclosing this information.
Behind the tech priest's shoulders, the mechadendrites spread out like wings. Where are you from?
Information about my origins is worthless. I belong to the priesthood of explorators and came to the Coronis Expanse over 200 years ago. Any events preceding that moment are insignificant.
How did you end up in the Coronis Expanse?
I was honored to become a member of the Explorator Cognizance Fleet. When the Adeptus Mechanicus summoned the faithful for an exploratory venture into the depths of the Coronis Expanse, I joined the fleet in fulfillment of my sacred vows of comprehension.
But why are you not with the fleet then?
Archmagus Amonat, my blessed mentor, commanded me to crew the orbital station Alter Templum Calixis EXT-17. This venerable temple station was founded in the early years of our expansion into the Coronis Expanse. It is currently a rear observation post of the Cognizance fleet in orbit around the star Furibundus.
Who are the Explorators?
The sacred fraternity of explorers. The cult Mechanica sends us out to the frontiers of the known sectors as researchers and conquerors. We are the warriors of the Code, who return to the lost worlds and devote themselves to recovering the lost ancient knowledge. Explorators are granted the privilege of being more independent than many of our tech comrades. However, it has earned us a reputation as unstable and poorly controlled troublemakers whose unorthodox views are dangerously close to apostasy.
Tell me about your mechadendrites.
They are my younger brothers and guides on the way to the Omnissiah. Their machine spirits are directly bound to my neocortex and pick up impulses from my subconscious. Sometimes they act ahead of my thoughts. This is how the Omnissiah leads me to comprehension.
The voice coming from the Vox synth changes, becoming strangely softer, blooming with low, warm undertones. We can stop there.
Acknowledged.
Tell me more about the Adeptus Mechanicus.
I am honored to belong to the priesthood of Mars, guided by its tenets. We safeguard technology against the impure and the unenlightened.
Why did you mention Mars? Because that's where the priesthood originated.
That is where the cult of the Omnissiah originated, and where we were granted the first revelations. Many millennia ago, we made an alliance with the Emperor of Terra, and have served the Imperium ever since, paying a tribute of machinery, weapons, and void ships.
So the reason why the Tech Priests of Mars rose on Mars is because, well, it's speculated. It's because the Emperor trapped a shard of a god called a Catan, named the Void Dragon, on Mars. And while it's there sleeping in the labyrinth that it's trapped in, it's been subtly influencing the people that lived on Mars to become the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is why they're so obsessed with technology, because the Void Dragon was the Catan god of like technology and innovation. The Catan are the gods of the Necrons, who are another Xenos race. In the setting, they gave up their biological bodies in exchange for machine bodies. It's a pretty sad story, but they have existed for a very long time. They're one of the oldest races in the setting. I don't want to talk too much about it right now. I'm sure we'll be able to talk about it later, because some of the promotional art had Necron architecture in it, so I'm assuming we'll come across at least some Necron ruins at some point, and we can discuss it then. So, let's continue.
Everything that bears the blessed seal of machinery comes from our hands, and it is we who make sure the operating rituals are performed as they were meant to. We are everywhere. We are the Mars-forged steel bars that give the Imperium strength.
And that's really important to note. The Imperium could not function without the Mechanicus, which is why they're giving so much leeway in how they worship. Because while some of the Adeptus Mechanicus do worship the Emperor as the Omnissiah, and so as a god or as an avatar of their god, not all do. And they can get away with it, because if you make the Adeptus Mechanicus angry, you're not going to get the resources you need. And you're probably going to die. What do you mean guarded? It's not buried treasure. It's not a secret.
It is both a treasure and a secret. Technology is how the divinity of the Omnissiah manifests itself in this world. This is why the uninitiated may only be allowed to touch the most vulgar and mundane of its instances. We, on the other hand, are authorized to use the sacred catechism of maintenance and operation. Although there is another reason to deny lay people the sacrament of knowledge, it can be dangerous. Twisted by renegades, the Omnissiah's wisdom is called heretic, and the exposure to it may corrupt the uninitiated. Another danger is knowledge strangely interpreted and inscrutably twisted by the minds of the Xenos. This bane is called Xenotech.
So not even technology in Warhammer 40,000 is safe from chaos corruption? Which is what he's referencing here with that. Xenotech is just technology developed by Xenos races. This character is subject to the dogma of the Imperium, so I think option 1 is the most fitting. Option 2, I think, has real-world applications, but definitely not in 40k, because again, in 40k, technology can be corrupted by chaos. And with the machine spirits, they oftentimes have a mind of their own. Which isn't AI. AI is a whole other thing, and it's actually banned in the Imperium because of the Dark Age of technology and the Men of Iron. That's a whole nother lore segment. Sacred objects should be touched only by worthy hands.
This statement is true. What many consider chains on our way to comprehension is our armor, which we have inherited from our wisdom-blessed predecessors.
And just so everybody knows, I'm having a really hard time not just, bursting into a lore talk here. There's a lot that I'm skimming over, and I'm having a hard time trying to go through and determine what's the most important pieces I need to, or I should talk about without, getting too far off topic. Because we are talking to Pasqal. We're not talking about the setting. Do you hold a high position in your fraternity?
This electu indicates that I am a Magos, who has mastered the sacraments of many spheres of knowledge, and has the right to conduct services in a forge cathedral.
Pasqal exposes his wrist. The glowing green threads of an electric tattoo run under the pale skin that has long forgotten the taste of sunlight. What is the Omnissiah, in your understanding?
He is the divine mechanism, the maker of technology. The universe was made to resemble a mechanical marvel because the Omnissiah rules over it. Knowledge is the highest form that he uses to manifest in the world. For now. Someday, he will come to this world in the absolute fullness of his splendor.
So I mentioned before that some of the Mechanicus worship the Emperor's Omnissiah, or view him as an avatar or a physical embodiment of the Omnissiah. It's also speculated that the Void Dragon, the Catan god I talked about earlier, is the Omnissiah because of its influence it had over the Adeptus Mechanicus. That may or may not be the case. There's some lore snippets here and there that confirm and contradict that, so won't get into that right now.
The Adeptus Mechanicus worshipped the Emperor. He is the earthly manifestation of the Omnissiah, who brought humanity into the light of divine grace.
Okay, so Pasqal subscribes to that worship, or that belief. What is behind the Adeptus Mechanicus' enthusiasm for replacing flesh with augmentations?
Organic tissue is an imperfect replica of the machine. Transient and vulnerable. Metal is more stable, more effective, and more durable. Flesh speak is flawed next to binaric language. Meat begets weakness. It softens the mind and undermines discipline. But you can replace metal when it wears down. In addition, a machine is a supreme form of knowledge, and by assuming mechanical form, we become closer to the Omnissiah.
And so while the Adeptus Mechanicus does view flesh as weak, they do believe that the human form is divine.
However, like all things sacred, our augmentations must not be defiled by the eyes of the ignorant. Which is why we reveal only the crudest of tools, while holier mechanisms remain concealed beneath our crimson robes.
I am curious to see your augmentations.
The right to witness the miracle of flesh being fused with holy metal is granted only to those who have ascended to the rank of initiate. However, your lofty status of rogue trader allows me to make a partial exception and reveal my sacred stigmata.
Is he gonna flash us? Pasqal reverently parts the robe's scarlet folds on his chest. You see emaciated white meat, gnawed through by metallic shunts and flexible wires. Blood runs through transparent pipes, enriched with the nutrients required by the pallid flesh. The sight of a body transformed into an appendage to an incredibly complex mechanism built using unfathomably ancient blueprints is mesmerizing. Every component of this machine serves a dual purpose of preserving life in Pasqal's fragile flesh and preventing all threats to his well-being. The Omnissiah has been generous to you. His creation is keeping you safe from death.
The Omnissiah has been generous to you too. He has granted you understanding.
Pasqal looks at you with respect. He seems surprised that you recognize the purpose of the augmentations implanted in his body. You have a strange way of speaking. Is that because of the augmentation, or does your faith dictate how you should express yourself?
Partially true. I had a voice modulator implanted alongside the respiratory purification module, but there is an additional reason. Gothic is not my first language. I am used to thinking and making statements in lingua technis. The binaric language is more informative, more ergonomic, and less prone to misinterpretation.
They already touched on the binaric. They often communicate in between the tech priests, Skitarii, and other members of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Yeah, nothing I need to add to that. Alright, I have no more questions.
Acknowledged.
I must take my leave.
May your labors be effective and fruitful.
The box synth emits a rattling binaric mantra. So he can't be, well, typically, as they achieve higher rank within the Adeptus Mechanicus, they keep adding more and more augmentations to their body, and some of them get pretty absurd. The Fabricator General of Mars was the size of a building. I want to take a look at this real quick. So we have new options there. I said upgrade the hull and the RAM. Increases hull integrity by 14. So increases ram damage, reduces damage suffered when ramming another void ship. Now, I do like ramming stuff. Actually downgrade it too. I'm not gonna spend on my scrap yet. Alright, so our engine, lathe pattern 2A engine. This plasma drive provides 11 speed along with strong acceleration and braking. Shields, single void shield array provides 80 points of protection for each sector. Auspex, Mark 100 auger array provides void ship weapons with targeting data, granting 80% hit chance and 5% critical hit chance. Armor, a military plasteel void ship plating. Plasteel plates protect the vessel from harm, negating 4 points of damage on each side. Port, Mars pattern macro battery. Short-range broadside macro cannons which fire 4 shots, dealing 14 damage per shot. Starboard, a Mars pattern macro battery, same thing as the port side. Dorsal, Mazoa macro cannons. Short-range dorsal macro cannons which fire 2 shots, dealing 14 damage per shot. On the prow, we have Mazoa lance weapon. Long-range lance weapons dealing from 45 to 55 damage to a chosen enemy within a narrow firing arc. And the prow, boss pattern torpedo tubes, plasma. Torpedo tubes capable of firing 4 plasma torpedoes with 19 damage warheads. It's 11 speed, 3 maneuverability. 8 damage reduction, and 10 damage bonus. Okay. So what happened to this stuff yet? Alright, so we have Swing Run. The flagship flies in a straight line, making a full U-turn at the end of its movement. Cooldown from 1 to 3 rounds at random. Can only be used during the acceleration phase. And Torpedo Control. Gives control of the nearest torpedo salvo, granting it 5 BMP. Void movement points. Only works on torpedo salvos that were launched on another turn. Cooldown from 1 to 3 rounds at random. Alright, Supreme Commander. This post oversees the crew and gives orders to other posts. Conveniently and thematically, my main character is the best suited for that. Master Cannoneer. I guess that makes sense for Argenta. This post manages onboard artillery. So I'm wondering, I might actually make characters for this that are spec'd into the main stat for these. Because it doesn't make sense to have all these random people just thrown into these positions. So Argenta wasn't on the ship very long, even before we showed up. So why would we put her in charge of this? Abelard makes sense, my main character makes sense. Pasqal would make sense as well. Shieldmaster, this post manages the ship's various technical systems, including the void shields. Pascal's best suited to that. Master of Maneuvers. This post oversees execution of the ship's movement and maneuvers. Give that to Abelard. Warp Channeler. This post performs various warp abilities. I guess we'll give that to Adira. And Master of Etherics. This post analyzes the ship's auger and Vox systems, always watchful for traces of the warp. Oh, she's better suited for that. We'll do that instead. Okay, well, I'm going to call it here, and next time we will journey to our next destination, somewhere on Rykad Minoris. I think the Cenobium is the only place we can go, right? Well, either way, I'm going to call it here. Next time, we'll go towards, I think, the Cenobium. Right, that's where everything's at. Yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one.